Hello, everyone. It's been a long time, no talk, and now no C2. That was super cringy, but I tore myself out of bed to jot this down in my notes, so I had to keep it in here. Before we kick off this new series, I'd like to show off the upgraded production we've given novelties this season. Extremely thankful to Radio Platform for this opportunity and this cheeky upgrade. What an honor. Anyway, more about that later in the season, but for now, welcome back, or maybe I should say, welcome forward. It's been a while since I sat down like this, mic on, thoughts spilling, feelings untangling themselves into words, but this time feels different. This time, it isn't just another return, it's a continuation. This is Del Resto, a new chapter, a quiet sequel, the part that comes after, the rest of the story that I didn't get to tell before. If Novelties was about discovering who I was, Del Resto is about dwelling in who I've become. The stillness after the storm, the clarity that follows the chaos, the beauty in the in betweens. It's about what remains after growth, after heartbreak, after healing. It's about what's left and what's worth keeping. This season's a little different. It's not just me with my mic in my room or my house. Del Resto is going live in at Platform Radio. Every episode will be recorded in the studio in real time, raw, unfiltered, and honest, then shared across all streaming platforms for you guys to tune into later. So, whether you're catching it live or pressing play after, I hope Del Resto feels like a conversation with a version of yourself you've been missing, because this is where I left off and this is where I begin again. So, for our first segment, October's Canon Event, um, I had waited and waited for my October lore to bestow itself upon me. I watched as a thread of threat swirled around my thoughts, and I felt a gnarly knot twist in my gut as I took in the breath of the aura of an October day. The month of October is such a special month to me. More than it being the month of my birth, it feels like the new year to me. One that the new year can never actually bring me, and it's because I feel a sort of belonging and stability. Regardless of what's going on, good or bad, I feel like my season and my sign bring me a guiding path, an intuition of balance, if you will. And I was waiting for the other shoe to drop because I'm human, filled with faults and filled with laughter and love, filled with angst and hate, filled with sadness and beauty. And most importantly, I am filled with memories. Memories of people and experiences that I am to watch from a window in my brain and heart. So I guess that's why they call it window pane. Um, this is entirely intended as an Eminem pun. But the other shoe didn't drop. Maybe Eminem caught it, but it didn't. I was sad, happy, confused, ecstatic, absent, and wishful. And I know that kind of seems weird. How can all of these emotions happen at the same time? And I feel like sometimes when people refer to it as a numbness, it's more about the fact that there are way too many emotions for you to actually sit down and deal with. And I've realized that now through like actually sitting down and being like, oh, it's this and this and this. Um, so quietly I was living and I rejoiced that the other shoe didn't drop. But I always wondered what would I do if it did? Maybe deep down I wanted it to. Um, and I didn't know how to feel about that. That I wanted to experience the bad just as much as the good, because I wanted to live life to the fullest. More than that, I wanted to get the best of every learning experience. And to tell my kids I did that at uni, or to tell my parents I did that at uni. Um, More importantly, It's because that I want to lay down on my bed every night and smile to myself because my heart is full. Good and bad, it is full. Because regret is a frenemy I do not like to welcome in very often. And so try everything. Any opportunity that comes up and you feel like, oh my God, that aligns with me, I think you should definitely try your best to end up participating in that experience. So maybe that's what October really was for me. Not the calm before the storm, but the quiet reminder that sometimes the storm doesn't come at all. It's the in between, the gentle sigh between endings and beginnings. It's learning to find peace even when I'm waiting for something to go wrong and realizing that maybe growth doesn't always come from chaos. Sometimes it comes from stillness and simply existing and letting life be. On a more on a lighter note, when I was reading this script to my brother, he was saying, "You know what? I guess if you don't feel like you actually experienced your October's canon event, maybe it did happen and it just passed by you without you realizing it because you're so consumed by what you want it to be that you end up missing what it actually is." So maybe I was so consumed by wanting something to be my October canon event and I ended up missing the real one. But who knows? I don't intend for that to be like a negative afterthought, but I guess we should live every moment to the fullest and make sure that these kinds of things don't end up happening. So yeah, that's it. That's kind of the end of October's canon event segment. And to move on to the next one, it's called Don't Be a Rocking Chair. You're not going backwards or forwards. You're consuming energy, efforts, and emotion to no avail. You aren't even moving. This section is an arm this section is an honorary member mention to my dad. We kind of discussed this idea together, and so this is what Don't Be a Rocking Chair is all about. There are days when we confuse motion with progress, when keeping busy feels like growth, but all we're doing is rocking back and forth. That rhymed. Stuck in the same place. It's comforting because it feels familiar. It gives us the illusion of movement, but stillness disguised as effort is one of the easiest traps to fall into. Sometimes you have to pause, step off the metaphorical rocking chair, and plant your feet on the ground. Touch grass. Grounding isn't stillness, it's alignment. It's deciding that your energy deserves direction, not distraction. Life moves either way. But it's on you to decide whether you want to stay. No, it's for you to decide if you want to sway in rhythm or move with intention. And lately in October, I felt like I was stuck on that rocking chair, mind buzzing, heart racing, and not moving. When uni started back in September, something inside me shifted in a way that I couldn't explain. It was like my brain was living in a constant state of fight or flight, um, triggered by something I couldn't even pinpoint, and that made it even worse because not knowing why you feel off can be just as heavy as the feeling itself. So I felt blocked. My creativity, my voice through my symbolic thoughts, the very thing that makes me feel alive and fulfilled was muted. It had been muted. And I couldn't write, couldn't come up with even episode titles, which was usually where it all starts for me, where like my creative thought process kind of flows through. And it's just kind of how I made sense of the chaos of just being a 20 something and just learning life in its like that's the simplest way I could put it. And so this time there was just silence and but everything on the outside looked fine, you know. I was doing everything I was supposed to. I was going to uni, studying, I was cooking. I love cooking. Staying healthy, and so I was doing all of the right things, but inside I felt preoccupied and so utterly weighted that I was living on, it was very similar to like feeling like living on autopilot. I don't know if that makes sense, but I was just watching life and doing the things that I was supposed to like carry on and move on to the next day. But so it was just watching life rather than actually feeling it move through me. I hope that makes sense. Um, so that kind of weight takes a toll on your mental health. And because it's not the kind of exhaustion that rest can fix, it's the kind that comes from emotional disconnection, from feeling detached from your own rhythm. And you can start to forget what your why even sounds like. You know, that why that strives for like doing more. And for example, my why is simply is like, why do I feel like this? Why did this happen to me? And then through that, I'm able to create these podcast episodes. This is where my ideas generate from. I would experience something and then I'd be like, why? I feel like this was something that I have realized has been within me like forever. I've always questioned why. If I got into an argument with someone, I'd be like, why did they do that? Why did they feel like they needed to do that to me? Why was that a response to the situation itself? It's just so many whys. I've always wanted to know why in whatever situation. Why is a lovely question to get your mind racing. Not racing, just going, moving. I love to question things. Um, but here's what I've learned through it. Bravery doesn't mean I'm not afraid. I am full of fears. I am scared of falling behind. I am scared of not being enough. I am scared of not having that creative spark again. But courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision to show up anyway, to push myself gently but firmly, to take the risk of trying again, even when I don't know if it will work out. And maybe that's what stepping off the rocking chair really means. It's not about knowing exactly where you're headed, it's about choosing to stand even when your knees aren't shaking. It's about remembering that even fear can be movement as long as it doesn't keep you seated. And so going back to the part where I was like, oh, like everything on the outside seemed fine because I was eating, cooking, doing uni work, laundry, I don't know what else, like normal uni things. But on the inside, I was just like, I can't hear my inner voice. I couldn't hear my inner inspiration, my inner guide, if you will. And I think it's very important that you keep doing those day to day things because sitting still really lets that weight fester even more. So that is Don't Be a Rocking Chair. For the next segment, the frontal lobe development. So I've been recently thinking about how much I am me right now. That makes me think about how happy she would be, the younger me, about being so me. I've never felt so much like myself. I feel so connected to my soul, and it's like I've regained focus in a way that truly makes me understand the essence of what it means to be yourself. And through that, to live for yourself. To do the best for yourself by being the best self you can be for yourself. If you can tell me how many times I said yourself there, I'll pay you something. Kidding. I think not. And I'll admit, it takes a lot of effort, a lot of time, and even more energy to sustain. Because you go through so much time failing to find yourself just to find your way back to yourself. And there's this quote that I came across that says something along the lines of, if you think the journey to finding yourself is filled with butterflies and rainbows, absolutely not. It's the most gut wrenching, personality shredding, and stripping experience. So many mazes and alleyways, a lot of obstacles and burdens, the weight of trauma still waiting to be uncovered and understood, and then the journey of healing it. The amount of work puts you through such a consuming energy because getting to the core of yourself, to the core of you, is life's most perfect gift, in my opinion, personally. But for you to be rewarded for that such a great, like, for you to be rewarded of that great experience of discovering yourself, it is such a great experience, it is such a great gift that you will be tested with what your core is made of. And I truly, truly believe that you are really, really strong enough and you are made for those life beatdowns. In terms of getting through it, because I want to know who I am. Again, with the question of why. Why am I the way I am? Why am I me in the way that I am? I just find it so cool that how you like grow and become this person that you actually are. I'm rambling and like going on. But anyway, I'll admit that it's a bit of a hefty road to take and for you to be like, yes. But it's a matter of whether you put faith in whatever you believe in, genuinely. It's just that you put faith in a higher power, that there is a plan, and there is, what I'm trying to say is, trying to find yourself is not a small task for yourself or for like just life in general. And I think that because it's not a small ask, that you'll need to face all that's within you to realize what needs to be stripped and what needs to be enhanced so you become that great person while being worth being that great person. Um, and maybe that's the real test of growing up, realizing that the versions of yourself that you prayed to become will also be the one who has to carry the weight of everything it took to get here. Because becoming you isn't just about healing, it's about holding space for the parts of you that are still learning how. It's about forgiving the moments you couldn't show up, the versions of yourself that only knew survival, and choosing to love them anyway. I think that's what I think that's kind of the purpose of why it's so hard to grow up and morph into this adult person that you end up being. I think that the whole thing was because you need to meet yourself at your most fragile to rebuild from that softness or vulnerability, and to understand that strength doesn't mean that you are unbreakable or that it's a never breaking thing that like you end up reaching and like you're going to be unbreakable after that. No, you're human, and the thing is you're going to have to keep breaking to keep getting better and evolving, and at the end of the day that is what we are supposed to be doing as a human race. And so you need to trust that every time you do have the capability of, advancing, becoming better. And yeah, I don't know. It's just that no matter how many times you feel like the pieces are falling down, I think that you need to realize that as you grow, more pieces, newer pieces are added to the puzzle. And so you need to reformulate that and create a newer, bigger one. Something that is truer to yourself, and something that only this like all consuming experience can kind of give you. So that is the end of that very long frontal lobe segment. I hope you actually could understand what I was saying. I feel like I kind of lost track of what I was saying at some point. But anyway, let us continue. For the next segment, it's only you who can make your life make sense. Um, this is a bit of a just advice session ending, but people can guide you, love you, advise you, or even walk beside you to complete the experience. But no one else can live an experience for you. They can't live your story for you. And so no one can translate your pain into purpose for you. No one can make the chaos in your head sound like music. Only you can. Only you can make sense of it. And sometimes making sense of your life doesn't mean having all the answers. It means being brave enough to sit with the confusion and trust that clarity will come when it's meant to. It means owning the responsibility of your becoming. It means owning the responsibility of your own becoming, of carving meaning where there was once just noise. And because at the end of the day, the world will give you its opinions, timelines, labels, expectations, but you are the only one that can give your life coherence. Only you can give it truth. And I think the more power you give yourself into realizing how much control you actually have over how you feel about something, over how you approach a new experience, whatever it may be, um, even something as simple as getting out of your comfort zone and talking to someone that you're not very comfortable with. I can talk about something that literally happened today. So it's my first time walking in here, and it's a well, not my first time walking in here. I I've come in here before. I've had a course which kind of prompted me to come in and be like, let me try putting novelties on the radio. And I was so consumed by the thought of like, there are so many things that could go wrong. There are so many questions, unanswered questions about how this process might work. I've never been in a radio studio before. I've never like shadowed anyone who works at a radio. And so I was really, really nervous. And as I walked in, I felt like, okay, I'm here because it's something that I want to do and it's something for me. I need to put on my big boy pads and I need to guide this experience and make the best of it, because at the end of the day, this is my experience, and if I don't give in the best, then how can I ever expect to get the best out of it? So I told myself, I was like, you know what? Okay, you speak, you ask, you talk about your experience and how long you've been doing it. So I don't know if this fits into what I'm trying to say, but I think there's a lot of power in realizing that you really can do it, and giving yourself the time to process or learn to accept that you can actually do it. You just need time to envision yourself. And I think it's very important that you stop putting people that keep disappointing you up on a pedestal and instead learn to put yourself up on a pedestal, because you deserve that. You can do so much more than you actually think that you can. And me being in the studio is proof. I would have never thought that I would be doing the podcast this far into my life and it being, I don't know, like so helpful for me to begin with, like before anyone else. Um, so yeah, anyway, this might have gone on longer than I was supposed to. Excuse me, but this is my first time, and so I don't know what to do. There's so many hand gestures, and yeah. So, for the last segment, October's resolutions, I've put together um, a few sentences that I think are a good guide as to how I've been able to navigate the quietness and how to, or not just the quietness, just those are resolutions that I've put together direct, to redirect the thought process of how to make sense of these why questions, I think. So the first one is, I've healed enough to close the door, but I'm human enough to look at it and numb my fingers, gripping the key. I've healed enough to worry about reaching back out, but human enough to still hope. I've healed enough to sleep at night, but human enough to dream about it anyway. I've healed enough to keep going, but I'm human enough to grieve from time to time. I've healed enough to make the memory a ghost, human enough to feel haunted by an unexpected presence. I've healed enough to know better than to look back and hope for it back, human enough to wonder what if. And I know that some of these might seem like they are a lens to looking backwards to things that have already passed and kind of have shown you their true colors. But I feel like looking back, not necessarily regretting, but looking back and being very, not also maybe stuck, maybe a lot of reminiscing. I guess that is what I was looking for. Reminiscing is an active factor of just being human. And sometimes it takes a lot of energy to move past whatever it was. And again, there's a lot of the why questions around it. Why did people leave? Why did people treat me that way? Why? And so I guess it's okay to think about the past, but also I think it's important to have things to grip on to make sure that you can move forward or move past it. Um that's all for today. So for our conclusion, I would like to say that maybe October's very own lesson was never about reinvention, but remembrance. About remembering that I am still here, still learning, still becoming, still worthy, even when I'm not evolving at the speed of lightning, because life doesn't always unfold in milestones. Sometimes it whispers in pauses, in moments we almost give up, in days we choose to try again. I think I've finally understood that healing isn't a finish line. It's a rhythm. Some days it sounds like laughter, some days it echoes with silence, but every note matters. Every beat belongs. And I think that maybe that's what Del Resto is all about. The rest of the song, the unfinished symphony of who we are all still becoming. So, if you're listening to this right now, wherever you are, I hope you remember that your becoming doesn't need to be beautiful to be meaningful. You don't need to have it all figured out to be proud of how far you've come. You just need to keep showing up, even when your voice shakes, even when your faith in yourself flickers, even when you don't feel like yourself. Because you are still writing the rest of your story. And maybe, like me, you're realizing that the rest was never an afterthought, it was always the point. That's all for today, dear Novelties listeners. Keep a lookout for the rest of the episodes and don't forget to show this episode some love. Download, share, and more importantly, don't forget to tune back in whenever the next episodes come out. I really, really hope you like the revamp. I'm hoping to come in here more often, maybe surprise you guys with guests. And I was hoping for this episode to be way longer, but I guess we can use it as an introduction. Um, yeah, thank you for tuning in. This was October's very own, hosted by Malaak on Novelties Podcast at Platform Radio. Thank you.